webinar was recorded for subrecipients of the Tennessee Strong Families Grant on December 10th, 2025. Megan Bates, Family Resource Specialist and Certified HOPE Facilitator, was our subject matter expert. The session provided an opportunity for subrecipients to apply previously presented principles from the HOPE framework, healthy outcomes from positive experiences, to their work with families in the prenatal and postpartum period. The training also gave ideas for building resilience in mothers and families through intentionally creating positive experiences together. The slides and reference materials are posted on our webpage for your reference and review.
Thank you so much, and I'm so excited to be here. Super grateful for your time and your commitment to the families that you serve, and I'm just really excited. So as she said, my name is Megan Bates, and I'm a certified HOPE facilitator and a HOPE champion. I also work as a family resource specialist with the Healthier Beginnings program, so I'm not speaking to you today from a distance because I also work in this field. And I really understand how meaningful this work is and also how challenging it can be at times. So let's see, let me look at the chat to see who all is here. Okay, so no matter your specific role, you support families during one of the most important times of their lives. So you see the joy, you see the stress, and you see the uncertainty, right? And you play a very powerful role in shaping how those moments feel. That's why hope really matters. I feel like hope really strengthens what you're already doing well, and helps us center the strengths families carry, even when those strengths are harder to see. It shifts our focus from what is going wrong to what is going strong. And that shift influences engagement, confidence, and long-term well-being. Perinatal support has a ripple effect. The way we show up for families can influence how safe, supported, and capable they feel during the season of their lives. Excuse me. Your presence, your tone, and your approach matter. And even those small supportive moments can create lasting impact. Hope highlights those moments. It helps us recognize the powerful interactions we already create. So today, this is going to be an implementation training. We're going to practice using a strength-based lens by working through real-life scenarios. Your role is going to be to pull out those strengths, identify what is going well, and connect those strengths to the 4 hope building blocks. By the end of this training, you'll have hands-on experience applying the framework in a clear, practical way. And I just want to thank you again for the amazing work you do and for being here today. And families, remember how you made them feel. And hope helps us make those moments uplifting and powerful. So I usually don't do an about me slide, but this time I decided to. I'm just really excited. I can kind of relate to some of you. So I wanted to share a little bit about myself, and that's my dog that you see in the picture. His name is Jackson. I also love pink Christmas decorations. Also, the slides are very Christmassy. I just wanted to really bring the holiday spirit today. So let me share a little bit about myself. As I said, I'm a family resource specialist. I'm not a home visitor now. I haven't been a home visitor. My role is centered around connecting people to resources, and building systems of support, and really making sure families and professionals don't feel like they're doing this alone. I've always been a strength-based person with a deep passion for people, and I find so much purpose in supporting others, whether it's in my work life or my personal life. And as a HOPE facilitator, I train professionals and communities on the HOPE framework, helping people understand how positive experiences shape long-term outcomes. As a HOPE champion, I help organizations become more HOPE-informed at a systems level. Things like shifting intake forms, referral processes, and day-to-day practices so they feel more human and empowering. This year, I've had the opportunity to do 2 DCS trainings, an introduction to HOPE, as well as a second session that really focus on real-world implementation. I've also done 2-part community trainings open to professionals in the areas that I serve. And then I also connect to this work on a more personal level. My childhood had a lot of positive moments and people who truly cared about me. But at the same time, like many people, I experienced some hard seasons too. And what I've learned is that even when life feels heavy or chaotic, positive experiences still matter. Those steady, safe, and supportive moments are really, really powerful. And they can exist right alongside the hard things and make a tremendous difference. And if we have any middle children in here, I see you. If you're anything like me, then you know what I mean. I don't even have to go into detail there. But that's really why this work means so much to me. I've seen firsthand how powerful positive experiences are and how they can really shift the entire direction of a life. So let's shift into what hope really is and why it matters, because you're already seeing it every day. So let's start with this icebreaker and get real warmed up here. So I want you to think of one small strength you've seen in a family recently that made you smile. It can be something tiny, just even maybe a parent who didn't give up during a difficult time, a child showing kindness, anything like that. Aunt sent me a picture of her newborn. Oh, I love that. Those kind of texts are really exciting to get. Mom getting Christmas toys for her little ones. Oh, love that. Family sharing a coffee date this last weekend, playing a board game together. It's precious. One of our moms got a new job before the holidays. That is so exciting. Can't imagine the stress that took off of her. Some people are still typing, so I will give another minute. Found 5 mothers that were homeless new homes. Wow. That is absolutely amazing, Carla. So rewarding. Congratulations on that. It's probably one of those moments that's like so emotional too. Just you're so happy and it's just so emotional. Wow, 6. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Good for you. Good for you. Thank you for everything you do. All right. Okay, so let's start with this slide. So this is going to be a very interactive training. We're going to be doing a lot of chatting together, a lot of talking. I don't like for anyone to have to just sit here and watch slides the whole time, so I try to make it as interactive and engaging as possible. So first, let's just take a look at this picture and what are some things you noticed when you immediately look at this picture? What are some things that pop out at you from the beginning? You're welcome to unmute or drop your thoughts in the chat box. A lot of stuff, stimuli, yes, very true. Open cabinet with cleaner, accessible to baby, holes in the wall, pets everywhere, cords, baby in corner. No communication, everyone doing their own thing. Very true. Damaged wall, cigarette smoke. Yes. These are very true observations. Not clean, definitely not clean. All right. So it's really interesting how our minds often go to what might be unsafe or concerning. And that makes sense. Someone may be overwhelmed. Yes. Here we go. So we're trained to protect, assess, and manage risk. But when we pause and look a little longer, we can often find strengths in the picture too. When we focus only on what's wrong, families can feel judged or discouraged, even if that's not our intention. But when we also name what's going well, we build trust with them. Families feel seen for their effort, not just their struggles. That's what hope is really about, learning to notice both. And today we're going to practice doing exactly that. So thank you guys for participating in that. So on this slide, we're going to look at 2 thinking styles. Type 1 thinking, it moves fast. It uses routine and past experience, just exactly like we just did in that picture. A lot of the things that you noticed, the damaged wall, cigarette smoke, all those things. You're always looking for the things, the red flags, the concerns, right? So we want to keep people safe. We want to keep families safe. It helps us react quickly, but it can also lead us to make assumptions without stopping to check the full picture. Type 2 thinking slows us down. It helps us look at all the details. It helps us reflect and stay curious. And let me just give you a real world example of things that happen to me on a weekly basis. My boyfriend comes home from work and leaves his shoes in the middle of the kitchen floor. My quick automatic thought is, were you too lazy to take these off and bring them to your bedroom? That's my type 1 thinking kicking in. But when I slow down and I use type 2 thinking, and this is just an example, I shift to maybe he had a long, exhausting day and just didn't have anything left in him, which we all know that's not true, but that's what I mean. That small shift changes how I show up. If I think about it for a second and I'm thinking, okay, just calm down. This is something you're used to, right? The same thing happens in our work with families. When we slow down, we can shift from judgment to curiosity. Both thinking styles serve a purpose, though. We use type 1 when tasks are familiar. We use type 2 when we want a deeper understanding. In our work, slowing down is important. It creates space so we can notice strengths, build trust, and create connection, all based on our assumptions of how other people are operating. Yes, yes. As we explore these two thinking styles, think about moments in your work or in your personal life where you shift into quick thinking, and moments where intentional thinking helps you support your families more fully. And like I said, feel free to come off mute anytime you want to share anything. I'm happy to hear anything that you guys want to talk about. Excuse me. Okay, so on this slide, we're going to look at how assumptions quietly show up in our thinking. This isn't about blame or judgment, it's only about awareness. So type 1 thinking happens fast and automatically, like I said in the previous slide. Our brains are always trying to protect and make sense of the world quickly. And that's why assumptions feel so natural. They happen without us even trying. But type 2 thinking gives us a pause button. It gives us a chance to notice our first thought and ask what else could be true, or what am I missing here? This is important because families can feel the difference. When we lead only with assumptions, families may feel misunderstood. When we slow down and stay curious, families feel respected and safe. The goal isn't to eliminate assumptions, right? We all have them. The goal is to notice them and gently shift towards curiosity, empathy, and understanding. And that shift is one of the most powerful hope-informed skills we can build. So let's go back to this picture. Earlier, I showed you this picture with no labels. Most of the first reactions focused on the risk. That is type 1 thinking. It's quick, it's automatic, and it pulls our attention toward what feels unsafe or concerning. That's what we're trying to do, right? Now that we've talked about type 1 and type 2 thinking, I want to revisit this same image. So when we slow down and use type 2 thinking, we can see strengths that we didn't notice at first. I've listed those strengths next to the 4 building blocks of hope. So I'll just quickly go over those. And I know you guys have had the intro training. So basically these slides, and then I'll do another little refresher over the building blocks. These are just something to bring it back for you guys to remember. So for relationships, we see closeness, togetherness, and belonging, right? Even though they're maybe sitting away from each other in the room, maybe they're not, sitting on the couch together, they're still together. They're still in the same room. For environment, we can still find safety, basic needs being met, and a stable space. Even though there are bugs and a hole in the wall, they still have a roof over their heads, right? For engagement, we see cultural traditions, community connection, and pets that bring comfort. And for emotional growth, we see unstructured play. We see self-regulation and interpersonal skills. This slide shows why slowing down matters. When we pause and we shift into type 2 thinking, strengths appear. Families always have strengths, even when the environment looks chaotic. Our job is to notice those strengths and connect them to the hope building blocks so we can support families in a way that builds resilience. This is why slowing down changes what we see. On the next slide, we are going to practice that shift again by doing a quick snap judgment activity. First, noticing what jumps out in 5 seconds, then taking a few extra seconds to look deeper and see what else might be there. So as soon as babies have safe spots. Yes, I love that, Heather. Are there any other things that anyone noticed about this slide, that some other strengths that weren't listed? I'd love to hear
I
that.
thought about the jacket and the shoes on the floor, like they have appropriate clothes if it's cold,
Yes,
you know.
that is a good one. That's a really good one. They have food too. They sure do. You also see the mom is reading a book, which means she has some sort of hobby, some sort of self-care that she does. They are together, yes, which is super important. Also see the baby in the corner over there. He has a safe sleep area, right? He has a crib. Of Jesus, it could mean their faith is important. Yes, that is a really good one. So, like I said, for this next slide, it's going to be a little game. Once I switch over to this slide, you're going to have 5 seconds to put in the chat what jumps out at you immediately. Like when you look at this picture, what is the first thing you see? Okay. This should be interesting because we just did this little activity, so this should be interesting. So once you list what jumps out at you immediately when you look at this picture, then we're going to take a little bit longer and do another exercise. All right. So ready, set, go. 3, 2, 1. Stress. The dog chewing the lights. The mom looks like she's stressing for sure.
But it also still looks like celebration to me, you know, like in a lot of ways, isn't that
Exactly.
what like families we do that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Mom's hands in the air. She's like, oh my gosh, help me. So now take 10 seconds or even 15 seconds. And what else could be true about this picture despite the concerns?
Again, togetherness, and looks like they have some semblance of tradition.
Yes. The Christmas tree in the background. Mom has her Santa hat on. That's like you said, probably a tradition. The pet. They have toys. I see the teddy bears. The
Not
roof.
necessarily that everyone is crying. I mean, the other three could be asking us, the little girl, what's going on with her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very good observation. I can see that too. There's also heat. They have a roof over their heads. There's heat because there's the fireplace that has a fire going. It's great that they're working together to celebrate and do family traditions. Yes. Spending family time together. Mom put up a tree attempting to make it special for the kids. 100%. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I remember as a child being able to put up the Christmas tree was like one of such a special thing. Especially with my mom, because we had our ornaments that we would make at school. So we would put all those on the tree. With my dad, he would just get a bunch of balls, like the ball ornaments, different, like red and green, and we would just put balls on the tree. But it was still fun. It was still fun. I mean, those kind of things just, it's something to really look forward to around the holidays as a child, especially.
And I think not just Christmas too, Megan, but like all holidays. Like I remember getting excited about Valentine's Day and putting the stickies in the windows and like those kind of things are like those positive experiences that kids remember and want to do with their kids, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Sweet holiday time as a family, toys and dog. Yes, Mandy, decorating together, family glee, holiday spirit. Yes, so true. Playfulness. So, despite the concerns, there are always so many strengths, like I said, especially here. So, when you slow down and you shift into type 2 thinking, togetherness, connection, tradition, unstructured play, belonging, they have a home and their basic needs are being met, right? Just shifting into that type 2 thinking and asking yourself what else could be true. That's how you do it. I mean, in the midst of the chaos, there's always going to be other things that are true, always going to be strengths. Okay, as I mentioned, we were going to do a quick refresher of the building blocks. So you've already had the Hope intro training. So I'm not sure when that was, but I think Brooke had told me it was in January. So this part is really just meant to bring those concepts back to the surface before we move into the implementation pieces. So the Hope framework is grounded in 4 categories of positive experiences that support children's healthy development. The first building block is relationships. Children need stable, supportive connections with caring adults. These strong relationships help regulate stress and build emotional security. The second is environment. Kids thrive when they have a safe, predictable environment that supports their basic needs and gives them room to explore and learn. The engagement building block is also really, really big. This includes opportunities to participate, contribute, and feel a sense of belonging in family, school, or community settings. And the fourth building block is emotional growth. This covers the experiences that help children learn to manage feelings, build resilience, and develop confidence. So we're reviewing these because everything we do in implementation comes back to these 4 categories. They guide how we look for strengths, how we support families, and how we identify positive childhood experiences. So let's talk a little bit about how PCEs, and when I say PCEs, I mean positive childhood experiences. I'll be saying PCEs a lot. Let's talk about how PCEs help buffer kids during stress. So they create a sense of safety and care. When children feel supported by a trusted adult, their bodies calm down and they handle challenges better. These experiences also build social and emotional support. Children learn how to express feelings. They ask for help and connect with others. Even small moments like reading together, sharing traditions, or spending time as a family help build emotional strength. PCEs also help create a healthy environment. Kids feel grounded when there is predictability, routine, and warmth. Even when families face adversity, these experiences provide stability. The images on the slide show excuse me, I've got a cold or something and I don't know what's happening. The images on this slide show are just simple examples of connection, traditions, and shared time. These moments don't have to be perfect. Nobody's asking that. They just have to be consistent. And research shows that children with multiple PCEs significantly have better mental health and physical health outcomes than those with very few or no PCEs. Small, steady moments of connection can really change the trajectory of a child's life. Just like me and Brooke were talking about, as children, being able to decorate the tree for Valentine's Day. I remember making the, what are they called? The little boxes that we would make for school to give the other kids. What are those called? She knows. Okay. So I don't remember the name, but I loved those.
Yeah, just the Valentine's box. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. I thought there was a special name, but
I
probably
don't
not.
know.
Okay. So PCEs don't just feel good emotionally. They actually change what's happening inside the body. When kids live with high stress for a very long time, their bodies stay in survival mode. PCEs help lower the stress hormone called cortisol, bringing the body back into balance. Safe, positive environments help the brain work better. Movement, play, and supportive relationships help brain signals travel faster and more clearly. When children feel safe, loved, and connected, their bodies release oxytocin, sometimes called the healing hormone. I call it the love hormone. I've heard a lot of people call it that. So this helps the brain build new healthy connections and repair the ones that were harmed by stress. And that actually brings me to a point about there's an activity that we have in our program that we do with parents, and it's the bubble brain. And we make these little brains with them out of bubble wrap, and like we'll add little things in it. So we'll show the example of a brain that is a healthy brain that's, getting all of the PCEs, and then we'll show an example of the neglected brain, or the brain that isn't getting any nurturing or any PCEs, anything like that. And there's a weight difference to them. And so we always explain to the families how the healthier brain will build connections faster. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm not sure if you guys have those kind of things that you do with families or not, but that's just something that it makes me think about every time. So in the end, positive experiences don't erase hard things, but they help the brain and body recover and grow stronger, right? And that is such a big deal, especially for kids who have experienced a lot of trauma. Yes. I love the science behind PCEs too, Brooke. It's very interesting. So practicing positivity in part through focusing on an individual or a family's strengths also builds positivity in them, which improves hope and ultimately outcomes. As someone who works in a helping profession, just like you guys, we focus on what a person has going for them and what their proven strengths are. It gives us a place to start, gives us a place to build from, all while remaining positive, optimistic, and hopeful, which also improves their outcomes. Can you think of a time where you helped a family because you pointed out a strength they had? Think of how that made them feel. Think of the confidence that gave them, the motivation to be even better. Our systems don't always build from the positive, do they? It's really up to us to make that change. And when I think of this, I think of families that I have worked with. For the program that I work for now, I was the intake specialist. So I was the first one in the home. And I remember there are certain families that I remember talking to that had just, it was really, we would have breakthroughs and I would leave, I would go to my car and I would just have these really strong feelings because there's so, you know what I mean? I don't need to talk about it too long because I'll start crying over here, but the way that you see them light up when you are able to tell them like, you are really, you're building such a beautiful bond with your baby. I love the way you're being attentive to your other children while you have 18 other things going on. There's just something about they don't hear these things often. I feel like a lot of our families don't. They don't ever hear these things, the things that they're good at. They don't get that reassurance. So I just feel like it's such a big deal for us to notice that and tell them that. I don't want to get off on a tangent here, so let me move on. Okay, so now we're going to move from talking about this to actually practicing it. You already use these skills more than you probably realize. We're just giving language to what you are already doing well. As we walk through these scenarios, this is simply a chance to slow down, reflect, and build on your strengths as professionals. There's no pressure and no wrong answers. This is just a space to think out loud and learn from each other. So let's practice using a hope-informed lens together. Okay, so I'm going to read the scenario out loud, and for the next slide, there will still be bullet points of what the scenario was and the story and everything, so you won't have to memorize it or anything like that. So we have the first scenario. Alicia, who is 27 years old, is in her third trimester. She recently located to a new county after leaving an unstable relationship. She's living in a weekly motel while waiting for a space on a housing assistance list. Her car is unreliable. She missed several prenatal appointments because of transportation issues. Her family lives several states away and communicates only occasionally. She works part-time at a grocery store and plans to return shortly after birth because she cannot afford unpaid leave. She reports feeling overwhelmed but determined. She attends every appointment she can get to, takes her prenatal vitamins regularly, and she says she wants her baby to have a better start than she did. So let's walk through Alicia's story with a strengths-based lens. And there are a lot of challenges here on the surface, but our goal is to slow down, switch into type 2 thinking, and look for what's strong, not just the hard things. And remember, Alicia's in her third trimester. She's navigating a big transition. She is living in a weekly motel, and she's handling unreliable transportation. But she shows real determination even with all of that. She has a determined mindset. Yes, she does, Faith. And you can also think about what strengths do you hear underneath her circumstances? What choices is she making that show care? Choices that show intention, grit, or hope? Or where do you see signs of resilience, even in the stress? Strong-willed. Yes. That is a good one. Intentional
you said
planning.
overwhelmed, but still committed to giving her baby a better start. Like, even though she feels overwhelmed, she can like recognize the difference in what she wants from what she had.
Exactly. And that is breaking that generational trauma. It sounds like she's really working towards that. Chose to leave an unhealthy relationship. Yes, Drew, that one is a huge one because I know that is easier said than done for people. Takes bravery and courage, like you said. Self-motivated, knows what needs to be done, working hard, taking care of the responsibilities at the moment that she is currently aware of, 100%. Remember too, strengths aren't just perfect behaviors. Strengths can also be effort, they can be intention, small steps, or even a desire to do better. So if there are any of those, be sure to look for those as well. And something that I always do too when I'm trying to pull out strengths, I remember the 4 building blocks when I'm identifying the strengths: relationships, environment, engagement, and emotional growth. because sometimes that will kind of help spark some other ideas that I may have about strengths. Okay. Let's move to the next one. Alrighty, and thank you all so much for sharing and participating in that slide or in that scenario. So when we slow down and we look closely, Alicia's story is filled with strengths that matter, and especially during her pregnancy. And some other strengths to highlight and some things to talk about, like you guys said, her determination and motivation. Even in a tough situation, Alicia is determined to give her baby a better start. That motivation is a powerful protective factor, right? Her follow through on prenatal care is also great. She attends every appointment she can get to. Transportation is the barrier, remember, not her willingness to go. That effort shows commitment to her health and her baby's health. She also takes her prenatal vitamins consistently. That's also very big. That's something she can control right now, and she is doing it. As somebody else said in the chat, she left in an unstable relationship, which shows courage and bravery. She's choosing safety for herself and her baby. I know that's something that is so hard, the fear that she's feeling during those moments. But like you said, it takes true courage. She's also working part-time while she's in her third trimester and planning for how she'll support her baby after birth. That's responsible planning under pressure. She also expresses a clear wish for her baby to have a better start than she did. That hope drives positive decision making. These are things that she's thinking of. These are things that she's had perseverance. Yes, that is a good one. She names feeling overwhelmed, but also determined, right? Naming both. What is that? That is emotional awareness. That is a real strength. So Alicia's story really reminds us of why this work matters, right? We see hardship here, but there are also strengths that jump out at you from the start. The effort, the planning, the courage, the love. And when we slow down and shift into type 2 thinking, we can see even deeper strengths. And those strengths are already shaping her baby's early environment. So let's move into the second scenario here. So let's look at Janelle. She is 25 years old. She gave birth 5 weeks ago. She also has 2 other children under the age of 6. Her newborn had mild jaundice at birth and required additional monitoring, which increased her anxiety during the first few weeks. She struggles with inconsistent sleep and experiences intrusive thoughts about something happening to the baby. Her partner works nights and weekends, leaving her alone for long stretches with all 3 children. She has not attended the new parent support group yet, even though she says it might help. Janelle keeps up with all the pediatric appointments and carefully tracks the baby's feeding and sleep patterns. Her sister checks in weekly by video, but day-to-day is limited. She often apologizes and worries she's not doing enough, even though she manages school drop-offs, feedings, and household routines on very little rest. So let's look at Janelle's strengths. So let's take a little pause, and there's always strengths that are right there jumping out at you on the surface. But it's really just pausing and looking even deeper into her scenario and her story and just pulling other strengths. And you can start with the obvious ones too, of course, and then think about, the inner work it takes to do what she's doing.
She's successfully parented 2 other children. And then also says feels stretched thin and worries she isn't doing enough for her kids. Like that shows she really cares and like is aware of how much effort that she's putting in and what their needs are.
100% emotional awareness. It is so true. She has support by her sister, even if it's limited, and her partner supports her financially. Very true, Karen. It's even a little bit of support makes a tremendous difference. Consistency also, take a look at the follow through that she does, her routines and how she really stays connected. What about her values? What does her behavior tell you about her values? What strengths might be underneath her anxiety? Lots of planning and mental work going into the things she's already doing, even if she thinks there's more to do. Yes, Faith, that is a really good observation. Really good strength to point out.
I can say from someone who is 9 months postpartum, the intrusive thoughts is because you want to do what's right for your baby, right? You're so scared you're going to mess it up. Um, and so those thoughts of, oh my gosh, what if I drop him? Oh my gosh, what if I forget to feed him? Oh my gosh, what if I don't wake up when he cries? That's because, your brain is wired to want to care for them.
Exactly. Exactly. And she might even be suffering from a little bit of postpartum depression or baby blues, right? I don't have children, but I do know moms who have experienced that and those intrusive thoughts, depending on what it is. There's so many different things that, that when I've worked with moms that they've told me, and if they don't have any support and someone telling them you're doing a good job, you're doing the best you can, then I feel like it makes it even easier for them to doubt themselves and have those thoughts that, am I doing enough? All right, so let's take a look at the strengths on the next slide. So Janelle's story really shows us how heavy the postpartum period really can be. She is getting the most important things done for those kids, doctors, schedules, feedings. 100%, Mandy. 100%. But like I said, this scenario really shows us how heavy this period can be postpartum, especially with a newborn and two little ones. And even with all the stress, she's showing strong attachment. Her worries about the baby come from a place of deep care. Just like Brooke said, she followed through with extra monitoring for her newborn. That shows responsibility and advocacy. She tried to attend the support group more than once. That effort tells me she wants connection and guidance. Managing three young children on little sleep takes a huge amount of resilience, even if it doesn't feel like a strength to her. And the fact that she can name her anxiety and intrusive thoughts is actually a protective factor. She's aware of what she's experiencing. There are real challenges here, but there are also a lot of strengths holding this family up. The deeper strengths often tell us the most: persistence, emotional awareness, protective instincts, and a willingness to keep going, even when she feels unsure. And remember, strengths don't just disappear because someone is struggling. Sometimes they're the strongest right in the middle of the struggle. I always remind people that too, that right now you are struggling, but you are also showing so much strength, so much resilience in the midst of this struggle. So I try to tell people, remember that. Remember what you're doing right now. Okay, so this is a dad scenario. Let me read this one. So we've got 12 minutes, so I think we'll have just enough time. So Devin, who is age 32, is the primary caregiver of his 3-month-old son and 5-year-old daughter. He works 2 part-time jobs with shifting hours and lives in a small apartment without nearby family support. He doesn't have a car, so he depends on coworkers and buses, which leads to missed or late appointments. Devin struggles with social anxiety and avoids parenting groups because he worries he'll be judged because he's a single dad. Past negative system experiences make him cautious about trusting new professionals. Even so, he recently reached out to a home visiting program for support. He missed the first visit due to an unexpected work call-in and felt embarrassed about rescheduling. At home, Devin keeps consistent routines. He handles bedtime and bottles and manages preschool drop-offs when he can. He stays up late preparing for the next day as well. He loves his children deeply, but often feels stretched thin and unsure if he's doing enough. See so much in Devin just by reading that scenario. So let's take a look at Devin's scenario. What strengths do you see that Devin might have that are not obvious at the first glance? Those strengths that are not on the surface. Remember to slow your thinking and look beyond the surface. He is seeking and recognize that he needs support. That's a huge one, Karen, because I know that it had to be hard for him to even do that, right? Especially if he's been let down by the system and it's hard for him to build trust. So that to me is the biggest one there for someone who doesn't trust our systems, and maybe he's been failed by our systems, but he reached out for support anyways. I think that's great planning to keep up with school and bus schedules, great communication and keeping up with coworkers, even if an appointment was missed. That is a very good observation, Faith. Dad
The
is juggling a
preparing at
lot.
night.
Oop, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say the preparing at night, the feels unstretched and unsure of himself. Like a lot of times as parents, once you get bedtime done, it's like, oh my gosh, I just gotta lay down, or I gotta watch Netflix, or I gotta like do something that doesn't require, your brain. But the fact that he's still taking that extra time to care for his family and think about them, I think says a lot.
100%. It says so much. I can imagine how exhausted he is physically and mentally. Single father working hard, holding down the house, chores, taking care of two small children, trying his best to do all he can for his children. Yes, Carla, that's a beautiful observation. And there are so many dads that have this exact situation, that they're living this. And a lot of the times, our dads, they don't get the credit that they deserve. I went to a fathers and families convention in LA last year, and it was just about this kind of thing, that dads, it was a lot of dads that were present there that had lost their kids because, the mother had accused them of, domestic violence, but really the dads were the victims. And the courts, our systems, they're built, I feel like, to really, not saying side with the mothers, but is what I'm saying is our dads don't get enough credit. So I think it's really important that we always give our dads credit when they're even when we just see them doing a little something. I feel like that just motivates them to be even better and do even more. So let's look at his strengths. And let's walk through this Devin story. Some of his strengths take a little bit of deeper reflection. Some are right there and they're very clear. First, Devin shows a strong commitment to his kids. Like someone else said, even with 2 jobs and no car, he stays involved and he makes their well-being his priority. He provides stability through daily routines, bedtime bottles, preschool drop-offs, and planning ahead the night before. These small, steady actions make a huge difference for young children. He demonstrates courage. He demonstrates self-awareness by reaching out for support, even though he has social anxiety and past negative system experiences. That alone is a major strength. Devin shows adaptability and resourcefulness. He figures it out. He works around his shifting schedules. He uses buses and carpools, and he still keeps his home running. He finds solutions instead of giving up. He is nurturing and emotionally connected. He worries because he cares. That emotional awareness helps him stay tuned in to his children's needs. And we can also see that perseverance here. He keeps going even when he's overwhelmed or tired. Rescheduling the missed visit shows he's willing to stay engaged. He's asking for help, right? And overall, there's a sense of hopefulness in the way he keeps trying, the way he keeps caring and keeps showing up. And those are strengths that really matter. And as we wrap up this part of the scenario, I want to highlight something really important. Like I said earlier, some strengths sit right on the surface and they're easy to spot, but the most meaningful strengths are the ones we notice only when we slow down and shift into type 2 thinking and look deeper. When we look beyond the stress, beyond the barriers, we see real courage and effort, love, the resilience that we see. And they're not always obvious at first. And that's where hope really does come alive. Okay, so let's move to the next one. And this is going to be our last part of our activities, and that will be finished. So now that we've identified Devin's strengths, let's take a closer look at how those strengths come alive and connect to the hope building blocks. Because remember, hope isn't just about naming strengths; it's about seeing how those positive experiences connect and making sure that those strengths fall under one of those building blocks. Some strengths fall into multiple domains, and that's normal. Positive experiences are going to overlap because they will reinforce each other. In the relationships domain, in Devin's story, we see a strong bond between Devin and his kids, right? He's consistent with routines, he's emotionally present, and his kids can count on him. And that connection becomes a protective factor all by itself. These are all relationship strengths. In the environment building block, Devin creates stability at home through predictable caregiving. Even though his schedule is chaotic, he keeps their daily structure steady. And that sense of safety and routine helps his children feel grounded. In engagement, we see his willingness to reach out. Even with social anxiety and past negative experiences, he is contacting a home visiting program. We talked about that. He also uses the support he does have, like his coworkers helping with transportation. And that's another strength. Those actions support engagement. And then finally, in the emotional growth building block, we see his self-awareness and his perseverance. He knows when he's overwhelmed, he knows when he needs help, and he still shows up for his children. That emotional honesty is growth. It's not weakness. His patience, his dedication, his reflective parenting style, they all help his children learn emotional skills. And when we use a strength-based lens, we see that families are already accessing parts of the HOPE framework, even in stressful situations. Our role is to recognize those strengths and build from them. So as we wrap up, I want you to think about how you can make hope real in your own work or even outside of your work. Look at the strengths you see. Think about how you can turn them into action and let positivity really guide you. Take a moment to consider one small thing you think you might be able to do this week and try to reflect on that. You're welcome to share that in the chat, how you think you would use the HOPE framework in the next week. And remember, every small step like this can make a huge difference, whether it's in your life, a family's life. So I would love to know how you might want to use the HOPE framework. And I'm always open for questions. If you guys ever want to hop on a Zoom with me, I'm happy to do that. If you guys ever want to discuss how you could turn maybe challenges that a family is experiencing into something more manageable for them. Does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to share?
We can go ahead and close up, but please feel free to share anything in the chat that you all are thinking about or anything that Megan or anyone else may have encouraged you to think about today. Thank you so much, Megan, for this interactive training and for making the scenario so applicable to our sub-recipients and for just encouraging us to use our problem-solving brains and really dig deeper and think about how we can pull out these things that lots of families are already doing and to encourage them and to come alongside them and support them when things might look really tough or really scary or there's a lot of risk factors. So we really appreciate your mindset on all these things and for being here with us today.
Thank you, guys. Hope you have a great holiday.